Hello everyone, good evening. I am Palash and this is me recording the CDC 8 logical reasoning section, passage 1 and 2, which I thought was might have been challenging for you guys. The rest of the passage 3 and passage 4 were very straightforward. I think there's no need to discussion. I found no discrepancy in the answer sheets or in the answer keys, and therefore I think all the answers were very straightforward. So if you go through the key, you would have realized your mistakes with the passage 3 and the 4. The passage 1 and 2 being tricky, so here I am discussing them. Okay, so without much ado, let's get started. uh, just to reiterate why we are doing this exercises, you might be seeing a couple of faculties recording it, and all the faculties, I'm making all the faculties rotate so that at least the faculties that have taught you, you might uh, also listen to them and understand how are we supposed to go about these passages. Now, the idea that why I am doing this and why we are all doing this is to make you understand specifically uh, that you need to mirror our techniques. Okay, the way we approach questions, the way an examiner particularly look at the questions is one thing that you need to go through. So I have two very quite familiar techniques that I always reiterate before I start the video. One is the identification of, let's say, the main ideas. So how do we identify the main idea? Because I believe the first and the second passage would have been irksome quite a while, that you might have irked them. It might have you know challenged you with respect to an understanding. So always I follow what is the TAP model. Now, what is TAP? Is the topic of discussion. What is A? What are all the aspects about the topic that are being discussed? P is what is the author's perspective. So, perspective of the author. So that's what my TAP model is. I think you should have definitely applied the TAP model for the first and the second passages. Second passage definitely, because it was really complex. A complex amount of data is given, but the questions were straightforward. But you still, whenever there is a factual laden passage, I think you need to apply that. And the second versions of the model that we work on is about elimination tactics. So elimination of wrong choices or elimination tactics. And this model is my beast model. What is this beast? Stands for broad and specific. Means too generalized information and too specific information. Exaggerations or extreme. Or maybe the emotional mismatch. A, alien. Definitely the unrelated stuff. Or something that is definitely not mentioned in the passage. S, sidetrack. Means you shift the focus of either the question or the content. And then T is the tone mismatch. That maybe the author was just analytical and you tweak it, the tone, and you call it uh, you tweak it and then say that he's hateful, he's contemptuous, etc. So that are the two models I want you to always focus upon. So main ideas should be followed upon understanding what are the three things, what is the topic, what is the aspect about the topic that the author has discussed, and what are the perspective towards the end, that why is the author discussing all, what is his intentionality behind writing this passage, what does he want to inform us basically. I think that is what we are supposed to do. So without much ado, let's get started with the first one. I think this was very simple, so let me do the TAP analysis first. That what was the topic? I think the topic was about Coca-Cola's I think somewhere around the hashtag share a Coke, right? There was a whole campaign which was share a Coke. So Coca-Cola's Coca-Cola's hashtag share. I mean, you don't need to write these, but I'm just writing it for your simplicity and for your understanding. So, Coca-Cola's hashtag share a Coke campaign. Now, what about this campaign is being taught or being discussed in this passage? So, that is what becomes the aspects of it. And what are the aspects of it? The aspects is basically, I think he's doing a quite good analysis, that analysis of the campaign. And there are a few points that he has definitely mentioned. So let's look at and capture them. I think number one, he has looked at that the uh, campaign had a high sales. Okay. And then what is his connection uh, with respect to the new marketing innovations, new connections with, let's say, the Gen Z, or let's say positioned marketing. So what was the positioning? And then he also discussed that, though he also discussed over the last paragraph, he discusses that, they argued, while personally it was certain demographics who did not find their names could be easily excluded. So there were shortcomings as well. So what were the shortcomings? Right? And then what is the author's perspective? Is he really pissed? Is he along? Is he with this? So I think he's definitely, he views the campaign as a landmark. Landmark in terms of positioning and in terms of the uh, personal connection that it had. So I think in terms of emotional branding. Okay, but also he warns that, these are something that is good, but it's not a look good long-term strategy. So I think he warns a long-term success base should be based on innovation. So I'll write views this campaign as a landmark, but warns that long-term campaigns, yeah, long-term success must be driven on similar innovative techniques, must be, let's say, innovation driven. So I think that is how you need to find out the bigger pictures about the three things: that what is the topic of discussion, what are the aspects about the of that topic that is being discussed, and then finally, what is the perspective of the author, that author क्यों लिख रहा है, what is his intentionality. Okay, let's look at the questions now. Let's jump to the questions. Question number 85: if Coca-Cola does not keep coming up with new ideas and share a Coke campaign, what is most likely to happen in the long term, as the critiques have warned? Very simple question. I think the answer was straight away Bombay, that the campaign's initial success might be over time, requiring fresh strategies to sustain its impact. I said, if you understood the perspective of the author, no matter, this question was very easy. Look at the other options. A campaign would likely continue to succeed. No, because emotional branding always ensures extreme. Consumers would eventually ignore the product entirely. Extreme. Or you can also say broad, that you're not saying the product entirely. The emotional resonance of the campaign would protect it from any decline in the popularity. Contradiction. He's saying that it will sooner or later decline. It has got nothing to do with protection of the decline. So clear cut answer. Which of the following cannot be inferred? I think if you would have not read this, cannot, give yourself a face palm. I believe this was very easy a question. That look at the other options. Look at the correct option. I think the correct option was Delhi, that Coca-Cola discontinued the campaign due to the declining interest and lack of innovation. No, that was never said. Rest every other option is correct, and therefore can be inferred. Coca-Cola's use of personalization helps strengthen the emotional connections with consumers. Absolutely, I wrote it in the aspects as well. That what is the connection with new Gen Z and positioning and everything up. So yeah, that can be inferred. Therefore, cannot be the answer. The sheer uh, A Coke campaign increased social media engagement and online visibility for the brand. Definitely true. It was a success. It is a success. The campaign appealed particularly to younger generations like millennials and Gen Z. Absolutely positioning itself. So every three can be inferred. Therefore, option by elimination you could have easily reached, right? So these all three can be inferred. So fourth cannot be. 87. Which of the following assumptions govern the advertisement's success? So any advertisement success is governed by what kind of things? So consumers are more likely to buy a product. I think the 87th uh, was the first one. Consumers are more likely to buy a product when they feel personally recognized or emotionally engaged, and that is what the reason of success of this campaign was. Right, so definitely A. Most consumers regularly post their product experiences. I think there is no mention of consumers regularly posting their product experiences on, and even that, even if that is okay, why will that be an assumption of success? It can be regularly post their product experiences could be bad as well, so that might turn out. So I think that is definitely not a valid assumption. Personalized marketing appeals only to younger. Again, extreme. You're using absolutes, which is wrong. A short-term novelty campaign can ensure long-term brand loyalty and sustained sales. It's opposite, contradictory to what the passage is saying. Passage is saying that these such kind of campaigns are very short-lived. They boost up the sales, but long-term success is only guaranteed by similar innovative products and innovations that we can do. So clearly gone. Which democratic results show the campaign's emotional appeal despite critics' concern about the name limits? I think this was very simple as a specific idea-based question. What are specific idea? They are explicitly mentioned in the passage. They are basically fact-based questions. You have to just find out where this passage comes from. And I think this comes from the fourth paragraph somewhere where he starts to say that. Market analysis revealed and towards the last where he says that what were critics saying about something. So let's say okay, about the fourth paragraph, critics however pointed out limitations of the campaign. They argue that while personal names appeal strongly to certain demographics, others who did not find their names could feel excluded, potentially alienating segments of the market. Additionally, some marketing experts warned of the novelty wearing off after initial excitement subsidized. So I think this is where the location of this answer was. And if you locate this, uh, which demographic results show the campaign's emotional despite the critics' concern? That Coca-Cola saw higher brand recall among senior citizens in rural regions. I think it was you can't say recall. It's quite the opposite. They would have rejected it out. So definitely a wrong, contradictory piece of information being given. Okay, the campaign led to the increased coke consumption during the national holiday and festivals. Is like LOL, no mention, clearly alien. Millennials are generally responded positively to the personalized branding and social sharing. Yes, that's what the correct answer is. Consumers with uncommon names showed strong brand loyalty. Wow, opposite, contradictory idea. So very easy. I mean, straightforward questions have been asked. Okay, next one. What criticism in the passage suggests that the campaign's long-term success could still be at risk? Okay, I read the question. What criticism in the passage says that campaign's long-term success could still be risk? That it appealed, but it will not be sustainable. Uh, Critics wanted the novelty of the name personalized might fade with continuous innovations. Without continuous innovation, that's correct. I think that is what exactly was mentioned here. Right. Additionally, some marketing expect novelty wearing off after initial excitement subsidizes, suggesting that the company would need continuously innovate and maintain consumer interest. Exact lines are written. You needed to go and locate and find out. So again, a very simple, specific idea-based questions. Straight away, A option being the answer. No other option comes close. Let's verify why are the answers wrong. Some consumers were offended by the lack of nutritional transparency. Alien. Nowhere it is mentioned. Market research found that the sales dropped when the hashtag stopped trending. A good option, but you never know that the hashtag stopped trending and was it trending to what extent and so on and so forth. So quite an assumption that you're making. This is straight away mentioned. This is assumption being mentioned. Now, social media influencers were not consistently included. Again, I think that is nowhere mentioned, that alien to the passage. 90. Which of the following factors highlight a flaw in advertisement which may affect its performance? So to point out a flaw, what is a flaw? Flaw is an error or kind of a discrepancy that might not result in the desired result, right? The emotional appeal of the campaign was universally appreciated across all demographic groups. No, I think clearly it was only Gen Z and millennials, right? So I think how can that be? How I mean, how can that be the correct answer, right? So you can say he's saying that he was universally appreciated. Actually, it was not universally appreciated across all time. It would have been the correct flaw, right? Coca-Cola relied heavily on user-generated content rather than the traditional media advertising. So I didn't think the mode of uh, advertising was a problem, that it only used social media. So far-fetched. A brand attempted to associate itself with friendship and social bonding. I think that was also a kind of a strength. Both of them kind of mentioned it as a strength rather than as a flaw. Therefore, the only correct answer is that consumers who could not find their names in the Coke bottles might feel excluded by the campaign, and that was what the flaw was. That you should not have only limited it to certain relationship. You could have created a more inclusive, all kind of relationships. So I think that is clearly the flaw that is mentioned, and that may affect. The rest, everything is something that we are associating, and BNC especially being the strength and not the flaw. So I think this was a 6 on 6. But even if you have attempted all the six and got at least one wrong, so this was definitely a 5 minus zero point 0.5 is 4.75 out of 6. I mean, this passage deserved it. So even at a worst case, you could have just landed up not doing one of the questions, so you could have still got a 5 on 5. These would have been a decent score, but I could manage up that on a bad day, as I always give the range, on a worst day, on a average day, on a good day. And this was a not that challenging. If you could have easily managed a 4.75. All right, the second passage I can believe might have been a problematic one, because a there is a lot of kind of information that science, first of all, right, ecology, and the nature of flux and everything. So and then you're mentioning all these Greek hero, what is Aristotle and doing. So you might have thought that, oh my God, this is kind of a philosophy passage, or probably what is he talking about? Why is he talking about Western Ghats? So why is he talking about it? Was it Yew Grove or was it New Grove? I mean, these are the questions that you could have understood or might have. So I believe that this is uh, the passage which you might have got the least answers, but still there were three or four very sitters, so you could have easily got a 4 on 4 if you would have cleverly avoided certain questions, and if you're confused upon, you could should avoid those kind of questions. But still, I say that this was a manageable passage in terms of if you would have followed my tap model. So let me just give you what was this passage all about. So if I what was the topic of discussion? I think he was trying to discuss something, that idea of uh, balance versus flux in ecology. Okay, what do we mean by balance? By balance he meant something like stability, and by flux he meant something like change. And his perspective is he's giving examples across the aspects. So what are the, if you call it, what are the aspects that are involved into the passage? The aspects are basically he's putting up the historical roots, okay, of both, where he says that Aristotle and Plato are the people who wanted stability, and Heraclitus is the pagan saint of flux, right? The Heraclitus wrote in there that steers all things. So the thunderbolt steers all things. Like so basically historical roots. I'm not writing Aristotle. I'm not writing. I'm just writing the initials A and P, favoring more towards stable, while the Heraclitus favoring the as a flux, as the saint of, what did he use the word as, pagan saint of flux. Okay, that change is something that is the constant. So he has explored historical roots of it. He has uh, he has also looked at the examples of the stability, which is the U growth, and of continuous flux, which is the Western Ghats. So factual example that nature is doing. So what he starts with, he says that environmental historian said that, writes about the fall of the balance of nature as an idea that points out towards a disruptive worldview, makes nature seem awfully like human sphere. All history, he notes, has become a record of disturbance, and that disturbance comes from both cultural and natural agents. Okay, I think this was a question directly given, so you could have just gone it and read it again. Thus, he places droughts and pests along with corporate takeovers and invasions of the academy, and this is the academy as the academy by Plato, by French literary theory. The idea of balance resurrects Plato and Aristotle. So, therefore, the academy is because Plato put up the academy as a first kind of university, you can say, in terms of where he started teaching king's kids and so on and so forth, right, where Alexander came. In which way, so this was what the aspect says. And then what was his perspective? I mean, why the hell is the author so much concerned with always are towards the beginning or towards the end? So if you would have gone to read up this passage towards the end, he says a new view of nature that combines them in a way that both scientists and public find compelling is needed. I think that was the line that you needed to be underlined, right? If you underline everything, everything becomes important. So I think this was very important because this is the perspective of the author. We should bridge the present disparity between ecology as a science, and ecology as a romantic idealism about nature, not only for intellectual reasons, but for the sake of robust public policy as well. So basically, what is his intention? He's saying that, this both kind of have been the argument, but both the integral approach should be needed to balance out both of these. So, what was the perspective of the author? He's trying to say that an integrated ecological view, which includes both of these, which should include stability as well as flux into the preparations of uh, in the view of public policy. I think that was what the essence of the passage was. So, as I said, for the difficult passages, guys, for example, you did not needed a tap for the passage 3 and passage 4. They were very straightforward. I think the passage 3 was just talking about how business consciousness has been changing, and the passage 4, I could see it was all about the wars. So they were very straightforward. You do not need, but in a challenging passage, for example, a passage 2, you should wait for a while, or you can finish off the passage 3, passage 4. Who's putting a gun on your head that you should do it then? You should calm yourself up, do the passage 3, do the passage 4, and then come back to passage 2, understand tap in the tap model, and then figure out that what are the question that I could have knocked off. Now, if I understood this, I believe all the passages is that you could have got right. Okay, question 91 starts with, what two ecological examples does the author use to illustrate the contrasting phenomena of long-term stability and rapid change in nature? I think this was clearly the clear answer, right? The coastal mangroves and seasonal flooding of the of the river. I think कुछ भी नहीं, सीधा सीधा ancient yew grove and changing forest to the Western Ghats is clearly mentioned. All other things are alien. All are alien. I mean, this is broad, right? Shifting grassland patterns is okay, but I think isn't this broad in the contrast of, see? So this too alien. This is broad. So you go for D. Now, okay, if human and natural disturbance are seen as the same, what does this mean for the moral case against human-caused ecosystem damage? Now, you might have felt that okay, what is he asking? But again, if you go back, verify, answer was clearly A. that says the distinction between natural and human caused disturbances become blurred, weakening the moral grounds for opposing human environmental impact. And towards the last, also, he says something like that, that a dynamic disturbance approach and foster some kind of most promising new approaches to the environment problems, such as the urban ecology and the restoration ecology. That's because it is much less concerned with keeping humans and nature separate from one another. So I think what is he if the human and natural design are seen as the same, what needs to be done? That the distinction will become blurred, and then it will weaken the moral ground opposing the human environment. Other options were hilarious. Human actions should be more strictly regulated because they accelerate natural pattern and ecological change. I think sidetrack, no mention, unrelated, एलियन नहीं है, रिलेटेड है बट अनवारंटेड, ऐसा पैसेज ने कहीं नहीं बोला. Environmental policies should prioritize preserving ancient metaphysical ideas over scientific reasoning. Lol, I mean extreme, or you can again call it sidetrack. Like he's saying that environmental policy should prioritize it, provide ancient metaphysical ideals. Means you should only preserve stability, but he's saying more integrated approach needs to be happening. So sidetrack, and that too is saying over scientific reasoning. It should be ulta. Scientific reasoning should be more than the ancient metaphysical. So I'm writing sidetrack. He's twisting the information. Natural disasters should be seen morally wrong if they cause significant ecological. How will you see natural disasters as morally wrong? कुछ भी बोल रहा है. So look at the brainless option that they're making. Okay, 93. What does the 3000 year stability of the U grove show is missing in purely disturbance based view of nature? Because basically 3000 year stability is of the U grove is showing that it's amazing. It is uh, kind of फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. So it proves that ancient ecosystems are immune to both natural and human disturbances. I think kind of extreme that you can't say that they are both extreme to even human. You could say that both natural and but that is not what it says. It proves that the ancient ecosystem, it ignores lasting ecological trends and long-term environmental stability. Yes, I think that is missing. So he's again asking what does the 300-year-old stability in Ugrove shows is missing in a purely disturbed disturbance based view of nature. अगर purely disturbance होता, disturbance मतलब the change वाला, flux वाला. So what was missing? It ignores the lasting ecological trends, then long-term environmental stability नहीं होती ना. So what is missing is the change of flux में long term environmental stability नहीं मिलता ना. तो that is missing in from this point of view, क्योंकि इसमें तो constant change होता रहता. It denies the role of human activity. I think nowhere mention of human activity of ecosystems over time. So ये तो clearly alien है, क्योंकि ये human activity is something that is definitely wrong. It assumes that all ecosystems are unstable and therefore extreme. So what is missing here is you can't say that all ecosystems are unstable and therefore therefore impossible. ये सब words ही तुम्हें दिख रहे हैं, देखो, all, impossible. So clear extreme words हैं. Absolute, using absolute, so it doesn't make sense. I mean risk होता है इन options को, but you could have avoided question number 93. तो minus 0.25 बचता. You could have got an easy 3 on 3 or a 4 on 4, which have been still nice. Okay. Uh, what overall objective does the author pursue by contrasting balance and flux paradigms in ecology? ये main idea पूछ लिया ना उसने. That perspective of author क्या है? That overall objective क्या है? To to advocate for an ecological framework that combines stability and change for scientific and policy relevance. मैंने लिखा ना, change करना चाहिए. मस्त है, आंसर है. अच्छा, to reject traditional ecologicals rooted in metaphysical ideals and replace it with purely data driven. Too narrow. He's saying integrated होना चाहिए, दोनों को लेके चलो, बैलेंस स्टेबिलिटी को भी लेके चलो, फ्लक्स को भी लेके चलो. तो ये तो आपने सिर्फ बोल दिया कि प्योरली डेटा ड्रिवन होना चाहिए. टू आर्ग्यू दैट ऑल इकोलॉजिकल डिस्टर्बेंस वेदर ह्यूमन एंड नेचुरल आर इक्वली डिस्ट्रक्टिव एंड इरिवर्सिबल. एक्सट्रीम, कि सारे के सारे इकोलॉजिकल, यही ऑप्शन है वापस. आई थिंक दिस इज, ही इज मेकिंग दिस in a rephrased manner. to demonstrate that public environmental sentiment is misguided and incompatible since with scientific logic. नहीं, so ये side track है because he does talk about that public is, but he doesn't say his public is misguided. He's analyzing. He's not uh, accusing anyone that ये कर रहे हैं, ये गलत किया है, या हेराक्लिस सही था, एरिस्टोटल गलत था, या एरिस्टोटल सही था. ही सेइंग इंटीग्रेटेड होना चाहिए दोनों अप्रोचेस. एंड दैट इज व्हाई नहीं आया समझ में तुमको तो मेन आइडिया छोड़ देना था. अवॉइड. क्या प्रॉब्लम है? Why don't you avoid questions? Avoid -0.25 ना. When options are too close, let's say A and D, में नहीं समझ में आ रहा है तो छोड़ दो. But this was a sidetrack. Okay, 95. According to the passage, what two types of agents does, ये तो clear line था. तो मैंने पढ़ा देखो, both cultural and natural agents. सीधा सीधा पूछा उसने, दो agents बताओ. I don't know why have people marked anything other than A. All are alien. Alien option है. क्लियर मेंशन है. पढ़ना कोई फैकल्टी नहीं सिखा सकता, तो प्लीज. Okay, 96, last one. What is the author's primary purpose in discussing the challenge of conservation efforts posed by non-equilibrium view of ecology? Question बड़ा है. मुझे को तो main purpose ही पूछ रहा है ना कि किसका. एक specific idea based question है. That main purpose discussing the challenge to conservation. Let's read the options है. Uh, to argue that conservation is futile because ecosystems are always in flux. Extreme. To criticize environmental historians. Tone mismatch. ठीक है, क्योंकि वो एनालिटिकल है, ही इज एनालाइजिंग एंड टुवर्ड्स ही सजेस्टिव आल्सो. वो एनालाइज कर रहा है, सजेस्ट कर रहा है, लेकिन कहीं वो क्रिटिसाइज नहीं कर रहा है. टू प्रपोज द नेचुरल डिस्टर्बेंसेस शुड बी मॉरली कंडेम्ड. अगेन टोन मिसमैच. ठीक है, ही इज एनालिसिस. आंसर एलिमिनेशन से आ रहा है ना. टू शो विदाउट द आइडिया ऑफ बैलेंस conservation is harder to justify, though alternatives may rise. So I think again, दो क्वेश्चन छोड़ देते, we could have easily got a 4. ठीक है. So 4 and 4, it was a good choice. I mean, getting, we could have easily done question number 91, 92, let's say 93, 94 छोड़ दिया, 95 and 96. Those are the 4 questions that I could have easily done and got it right. And that is, guys, what we need to understand now, that now we have entered into the critical phase of uh, the CLAT prep. uh, if you are in any of the ranges of marks, it's important for you to take those cautionary steps towards. If you are still stuck in, let's say, some 50 60s or 60 70s as a range, you need to increase your attempt. B, if you are in the ranges of 80s to 90s, and you're really struggling, you need a real push in GK. If you're already maximizing your marks in terms of your English, logic, and reading sections, as I say, there are two sections, reading and non-reading. So reading sections comprises of your legal, which is your 32 marks, your logic, which is your 24, and your English, which is your 24. So if you add this up, it gets to 80 total. And if you're already maximizing your marks at 65 to 70 here out of 80, I think this is a real good push. But then we have non-reading sections, which is about the maths 12 and GK 28, which gives us a 40 total. If you are already at 70 and then you can maximize this at 20 to 25 out of 40, is going to be definitely a 90 plus. And that is what our aim should be. I know if you're very close, kuch mock mein kahin na kahin, every time there is a silly mistake that we are making, try to avoid them in the next mocks. Be encouraged, be positive, be optimistic. If you at this point give up, or you say that I'm stuck, I will not be able to score, I think if you feed this emotions to you, it will manifest. So stop looking at it mocks as don't let mocks deter your confidence at this point. You say that whatever is my scores are, I'm not chasing a number game. I'm becoming confident at these particular sections. I'm getting closer to a ideal scores of these. If you're exceeding this, amazing. Let's not jinx it. Don't discuss it with anyone. But if you're not reaching, I think if you're pushing it hard, please reach out to me. If you're already struggling, I'm there at the rate of Palash on Telegram, Instagram, whatever you want to follow. I think Telegram being our official channel, and I'm there. If you want to WhatsApp me, my number is 98670 11270. So reach out to me, involve myself, me in your prep. So and I love to help you out in terms of what we can do and what we can uh, push at the crucial steps. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. Start to mirror me in your approaches. Elimination works like a charm. If you can see all these things, I think I'm again, I'll work with my tap model. Okay, or the tapped model, which is also the tone. If you can figure out, for example, you saw the tonal mismatch in this, figure out the beast model also encourages you to find out the tone. So it's one of the interesting things that you can definitely look at, that overall what is the passage, and main ideas are always reflected. The author's perspective is 99% of time revealed in the last few lines, last few paragraph. So I think go across that, and that is how you need to do uh, the passage. So thank you so much for watching. Please reach out to me if you have any problems. This is what my Telegram ID is, and this is what my WhatsApp number is. Thank you so much. Take care. Good night.